the course is very open at the beginning. It doesn't really sort of narrow things down to the way maybe graphic design looks out there. So people narrow down their field of practice later in the program rather than at the beginning. So we start as open as we can for them to kind of like experience the field without prejudice and to see what they can do within it rather than to try to imitate what's out there. Sometimes people who come from industry actually have trouble with that idea. They're kind of very set in their ways, so it takes time to get used to different ways of making things. So in fact, sometimes experience in the field can be a minus rather than a plus. People that come fresh with enthusiasm and curiosity usually fare much better.
The students want to know from us how to do things right. But we're much more interested in not telling them what is right, but going on a journey and finding out what they want to do.
Well, hopefully they will learn to become independent makers, and that's the goal of the 3 years, that at the end they can work by themselves, that they know enough about the industry so they can decide how to position themselves within it. Another sort of primary thing that we hope our students will learn is that there is no contradiction between doing your own work and working for others. That doing work for other people doesn't mean that you have to put yourself aside or that you have to become neutral. Doing work for other people means meeting them in a place that you both have in common. So you can do your own work and at the same time provide things that people need. So there is no contradiction there. Most of us, myself included, we complete our educations working. The program gets you ready to start working. Other than that, yes, there is also certain skills that are sort of absolutely necessary are introduced. So people will learn to do typography, people will learn to work with imagery, people will learn how to edit and gather content, people will learn how to start a project from zero and how to finish things. Because it's very important that when somebody hits the third year, they are able to start a project and to finish it. And by finish, we mean not just make something, but make something that has been considered and thought through, where the details are worked out. The other thing we are looking for is a certain familiarity with the idea of a process. That a project is not something that comes out of thin air, that you sit, you have an idea and things happen, but that is something you work. That ideas are things you can learn to have. And that is something the foundation program does give, like a framework or a way of working that you can then take with you. So most of our students have completed a foundation, or they have produced a portfolio, and not just a finished work, but they can show us that they can work through a process to arrive at something.
We try not to live in a bubble, but try to open up the school and our program to people from outside and establish a connection already during the study with the industry and other professionals.
A very typical career path is for a student to work at different places for the first couple of years of their career, and to get some experience with other people, and to start to create a space for themselves within the industry so they can work more independently. A lot of our students, a lot of our good students want control over the kind of work they do. So the path into the profession, yes, it may begin quite typically by seeking employment, but eventually most interesting designers will want to have more control over the kind of work they do and who they do it for.
There's in the industry a lot of jobs for graphic designers. It's a growing market, it's a big demand, and the biggest task is to find an interesting job. And that you can only do if you know what you're interested in. Because especially in Russia, I think there's a very low-level entry to the graphic design industry. You can learn quite easily how to use a bit of software, how to use a bit of InDesign and Illustrator. You can do that through YouTube tutorials. But there's a big leap between a simple service person clicking the mouse and preparing some files for print and somebody who actually creates work. And that is something that we can provide here in the program, that students know why they do what they're doing and not just do as they're told.